Hello all and welcome to The Big Story, where we discuss the hottest topics of the day right in the heart of the newsroom. I'm Haryanto, coming to you live from the Straits Times. Now we are streaming on Facebook and on YouTube, so be sure to hit the like, comment and share button. Now while you are at it, subscribe to our channel as well and hit the bell to be alerted of our videos. Now I will be joined by my newsroom colleagues to talk about the stories that got you talking today. Now first up, dramatic images of protesters storming the Hong Kong Parliament building last night and citywide demonstrations that have gone on for weeks now have been seen all around the world. The city marked the 22nd anniversary of its handover to China, with protesters in hard hats and masks taking over the Legislative Council building. Hong Kong had also slammed Britain for interfering in its affairs. How is the situation post-protest now? How true are the speculations about the police deliberately letting the protests in? And what is Beijing's response to all this? Now, to tell us more, I have East Asia editor Goh Swee Noi. Welcome, Swee Noi.
Thank you.
Now, Swee Noi, I just want to ask, how did it come to this? Why did the protests turn violent?
Well, there was probably a sense of desperation among the protesters that the government was not listening to them. So we see that in the days after June 16th, when 2 million people went on the streets to demand the withdrawal of the extradition bill, among other things, the chief executive, Carrie Lam, apologized twice, but she did not budge on the demands. And this is despite the fact that protesters had gone out in the streets to surround government buildings such as the tax office and the police headquarters. So this storming of the Legislative Council just feels like a frantic attempt to be heard.
Yeah, and we've seen in the clips here, right, that the protests, they look really violent, and the storming as well earlier on that you mentioned, they've really turned violent as well. But how is the situation now in Hong Kong? Has it come down a little bit? What can we expect, moving forward in the days to come?
Yes. Hong Kong has returned to relative calm today, but it is an uneasy calm because where the government is concerned, it is probably bracing itself for the next outbreak of protests. And for the protesters, there is a worry that there could be arrests, given the hard line that Beijing and the Hong Kong government have taken. So Carrie Lam has called it extreme use of violence and vandalism, and Beijing has called it a serious illegal act. So, but what is clear is that this act has given Beijing and Hong Kong the upper hand in the discourse, in the sense that they now have a weapon to use against the protesters because of the violence. But there are those who think that the police had deliberately allowed the protesters to go into the building and to vandalize it. So a pro-democracy lawmaker, Fernando Cheong, he called it a trap and said that the police could actually have cleared the protesters earlier if they had wanted to. Now, of course, the police, they poo-pooed the idea. They said that they had retreated in part because the protesters were starting to use violent tactics against them. But
what about, according to some reports, because according to some reports, the protesters did very little damage to the building. More on that.
Yes. Well, there are some who say that they trashed the Legislative Council and all that, but actually, according to some reports, they didn't do that much damage. Of course, they broke down the glass doors. They broke the glass doors, and then they left a lot of graffiti, as we've seen in video images, and a lot of waste like water bottles and tape and things like that.
And of course, with this protest, Britain has stepped in to interfere in its affairs, and Hong Kong has said, no, don't interfere in our affairs. What about Beijing? What is Beijing's response to all these protests?
Beijing, after having kept relatively silent, today came out to slam the protesters.
Yeah.
It has really taken quite a hard line to
Yes.
what happened last night.
Yeah.
They called the protesters extremists, and they called the act a blatant challenge to the one country, two systems framework
Yep.
under which Hong Kong is governed.
Yep.
And it also said it was a serious illegal act that tramples on the rule of law of Hong Kong. Yeah, and of course the newspapers also
Yeah.
went to town. So the tabloid Global Times said there should be zero tolerance of what happened. And but so now it remains to be seen whether or what action will be taken.
What about
against the protesters.
Beijing's response to this foreign interference?
Yes. So today, at the regular foreign ministry press conference, the spokesman has come up to say, to call foreign countries like Britain and the EU
US,
and the US, they call what they've done cause interference, and express its displeasure, its opposition to such interference into China's internal affairs. Yeah, after all, Hong Kong is part of China. Yeah. So, well, actually, the US and Britain have weighed in. Donald Trump has said that the Hong Kong protesters were looking for democracy, and the State Department urged all sides to actually refrain from violence. Yes.
All right. Certainly, this story is still developing. As of now, like what Sunoi mentioned, it's relatively calm, but of course, it's an uneasy calm in Hong Kong. Once again, thank you, Sunoi, for coming on to the show, to give us an update of the Hong Kong protest. Thank you once again. Now, moving on, our second segment, drone enthusiasts, you might want to pay close attention to these. The next time you wish to purchase a drone, you may need to register it and take extra care when flying your drone. Now, a panel looking into unmanned aircraft operations is likely to propose mandatory registrations for drones above a certain weight and stiffer penalties for those who break flying rules. In his first media interview, former RSAF pilot Timothy D'Souza, who heads the 12-member panel, told ST that the initial plan was for them to submit its recommendations to the government next year. The work, however, has taken on new urgency after two decent drone incursions at Changi Airport that led to flights being diverted and delayed. Now, to tell us more, I have senior aviation correspondent Karamjit Kaur. Welcome, Karam.
Hi, Arianta.
2 days in a row, Karam. But of course, for two different things.
Yes.
Right? Now, following the proposed recommendation, what are some of these proposed recommendations by the panel?
Right. Okay. So let's be clear first that this panel has not yet made its official submission to the government. So when I met with Mr. Timothy D'Souza, he just gave me an idea of what some of the recommendations are that they're likely to propose. The actual submission is going to be only later this year. But I think just the work that the panel has done so far, and given the two recent incursions that you just talked about, they are very, very likely going to be proposing that we should have drone registration. So this is not going to be like for all drones. They are looking at a cutoff based on weight.
Right.
And it's not something that Singapore, is alone in proposing. In the US and China already have similar rules for registration, and other countries like Australia is also looking at that.
Right.
So that's one of the proposed recommendations that he expects to be making. The other one is about penalties. So currently there are laws in Singapore that prohibits people from flying drones within 5 kilometers of an airport or an airbase, military airbase. And you cannot fly above 61 meters unless you have a permit.
Right.
And those who are caught, you face a fine of up to $20,000 and 1 year jail term.
Right.
And so when I spoke to Mr. Timothy D'Souza, it was very clear to me that he did not think that these penalties are anywhere near adequate.
Right.
He made the point that, in this particular case, the culprit or culprits, it led to at least eight flights being diverted, almost 50 flights being delayed, and we're talking about thousands of passengers, who were inconvenienced, and the cost.
The cost,
One flight diversion can easily cost an airline up to $150,000. So we're not talking about small change here.
Yeah, correct.
And he feels that that Singapore needs to send a very strong signal to troublemakers and people who are thinking of doing such things that if we catch you, we're going to lay it on
Go
you.
hard on you. And of course, Karim, you mentioned, of course, the culprit or culprits have not been identified. And then this has caused a growing public concern as to, how come this has not happened, right?
Yes.
People are saying, isn't it easy, just shoot down the drones? Is it that easy, Karim?
No. So apart from Mr. Timothy D'Souza, I've also been talking to a few other people. And look, it's very easy to say, oh, how come you've not caught this person or these people? But we need to understand the fact that we have a very small, tight and very busy airspace. Every minute or two, there is an aircraft either landing or taking off at or from Changi Airport. And so it's it sounds very easy. Why can't you just shoot the drone down? But to do that, you first have to be there at the right place at the right time. And if you look at the two incidents, they've all happened at night. So this person or people we're dealing with, they're smart. And the other thing is, you need really a marksman to stand there and just shoot the guy down. So I thought Mr. D'Souza gave a very cute anecdote, right?
Analogy, Tell us.
Yeah, so he said, look, if you have a duck sitting in a huge lake, you get a double-barrel shotgun, just fire 50 pellets, the whole lake will go up, but you'll just kill that one duck. But if you have like many ducks around this duck, you have pelicans and other birds or creatures, then you risk killing all the rest as well, and that is the reality.
The collateral damage involved, right?
Yes, to other aircraft, that maybe in the vicinity, and all the radars and signals, you can cause quite major impact on activities in the vicinity. And it's not just that. I think there is technology where they say, oh, just get a net, catch the drone, but again, that drone has to fall somewhere. And can you imagine if it drops on the PIE? I mean, just thinking about the impact of that, it's disastrous. So not so easy,
And Karim, you've covered aviation stories for the longest time. We know that, right? In your own opinion, and this is something that I want to ask you, what do you think the drone situation would be like in Singapore? Would it be a heavily regulated activity? Simply put, would it take out the fun out of, flying a drone?
No, I think we need to first understand that the usage of drones, whether it's for commercial or leisure purposes, is going to increase. The CAAS, the Civil Aviation Authority of Singapore, started issuing permits in 2015, and just in the last financial year, they issued something like 2,500 activity permits, and so that number is only going to increase. And while, like you said, it's fun, to fly drones and all, but we need to accept the fact that, again, we have a limited airspace, and it's the same with the roads, right? You've got, cars, bicycles, PMDs. Everyone just needs to play by the rules, yes, you can't fly your drones everywhere, but I think there are enough spaces. I mean, when I go to Bishan Ang Mo Kio Park, I see a lot of people flying their drones. I mean, you don't need to fly your drone, near the airport or, above a certain altitude. It's just not necessary.
Right. There is still within boundaries.
Yes.
Within boundaries. Again, thank you so much for Karim for coming onto the show. Like what Karim mentioned earlier on, of course, the recommendations they are still in its nascent stages. They haven't quite proposed yet. They're still in the midst of talking and all that. Still more to come. And of course, for more on the proposed recommendations, eventually do follow closely our website at www.straitstimes.com. Thank you once again, Karim.
Thank you.
Now, on to our third segment. This is home, truly. Now, I'm pretty sure you guys know the song, and NDP songs, I mean, really, they are very close to Singaporeans' hearts. Now, we are about a month away from celebrating the nation's 54th birthday, and this year is extra special as it is in conjunction with Singapore's bicentennial year. Now, to get us into this festive mood, the Straits Times has created a special interactive graphic that traces the evolution of official NDP theme songs since 1984. Now, what's more, if you answer these 3 questions on the graphic correctly, you could win tickets to the NDP, which returns to the Padang for the first time since 2015. Now, to tell us more about this interactive graphic, I have interactive graphics journalist Rebecca Pazos. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, thanks.
Now, Rebecca, first up, what inspired you and your team, to come up with this interactive graphic?
Thanks, Haranta. So basically for NDP, we do something fun. We try to do something fun every single year. And last year we did like a Where's Wally type NDP hunt.
I remember that.
Yeah. So this year we were inspired by the New York Times did an analysis of summer hits.
Yeah.
And they actually found that a lot of summer pop songs really sounded the same. So we wanted to see if we could do something like that, but a little bit more close to Singapore Hearts, which is NDP songs.
Okay, so besides it all being fun and interactive, the graphic is designed to be rich in data, right? Rebecca, if you could take us through the different aspects of this graphic.
Right. So yeah, that's right. We've used data as a backbone to this piece. And that just helps us add a new layer to the way that we think about NDP songs. How people feel about different NDP songs, it's very subjective and very personal. We went and did a quick poll around the newsroom before we started the project. And, depending on people's age, personal experience with the song, they would throw up very different NDP songs as their favorite. So to take this into account, we use data in 3 different ways, which is like ranking. You can rank the NDP songs in our graphic. You can, we analyze the lyrics as well, and we also looked at the musical traits and the composition of what I call the shape of the song. So when we look at ranking, you can actually kind of do this. It's not just normal ranking, like ranking from I like it to I don't like it, but it does start off with that. The first dimension is doing it on this scale.
Okay.
But then we also add a second layer. So this is actually just gives a little bit more nuance. We can see maybe why some people like a song versus dislike a song based on danceability versus...
So the first one is whether they like it or they don't like it in terms of that, right?
Yeah, and then the second dimension is the danceability versus the yawn-inducing factor.
So basically whether it's high energy
or
is
low
it
energy.
a little low,
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. And what else? You can also see in terms of what people like in general on
Right,
average,
exactly. So when you're done with doing the ranking, you can then see what other readers have how they've ranked the songs. So at the moment, I think Home, is clearly...
Yeah, what about Home?
It's a home runner. So it's it's a clear favorite at the moment. But I guess as more responses come in, we'll see that change.
Right. What about the songs that, people don't quite like, I guess?
Well, we haven't had anything stick out too much, but hopefully we'll see that in the future.
Hopefully. I mean to see whether, the data shows, right, the true feelings. But let's look at the lyrics now. There is also the lyrics bit as well. Very close to almost what a corpus linguist would do, right? To kind of look at words that have been used in NDP songs.
Right, exactly.
Tell us more on that.
Just looking at the lyrics. So basically, it's understandably NDP songs pull from the same sort of bag of words, so using Singapore, togetherness, community. But we did surprisingly find a very small shift, and that was that the earlier lyrics actually used things like Singapore, they used things like nation building, and then after the song Home, there was a shift towards more aspirational words. So we actually saw the word dream being used in every single song since 2004, bar last year.
Okay. And then also apart from the words, there is also the shape of the song. Tell us more about that. What is that? And this is something that you worked with Spotify as well.
So Spotify has a data set that we can access quite easily. Anybody in the public can access it, and they have very complex algorithms on how they actually determine different musical traits. And we could pull this information and kind of what I call is plotting these data points onto a radar chart. You can actually see the shape of the song. It's quite interesting. For example, we looked at, there are like I think over 9 plus different musical attributes, and we chose 6. We chose energy, mood, danceability, acousticness, spoken words, and liveness. So basically, just to kind of illustrate what that actually means, if we look to the spoken words section, so if you're looking at the We Are Singapore original, the original actually was mostly sung. But then in the remix, for those that maybe don't remember, the national pledge
song, right?
is the national pledge is rapped. So it's a rap. Which then helps to kind of increase the spoken words value. So you can see how that influences the data.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to tell you, Rebecca, of course, earlier on I sang Home, but yeah, I mean, I don't want to go with the usual common choice. I would say my other favorite song is actually the one by Stephanie Sun in 2002, We Will Get There. Now, for those of you, of course, who don't know the song, we have a short clip right here. If we can play the preview of the song a little bit.
So much we can contribute by sharing just a little love. We'll start again anew. So why don't we try?
Of the song. So that one is actually really high energy and really high danceability. So I think that probably says something about the songs you like.
It reflects quite correctly of me. That is my favorite song right there. Then there is also the Song Finder feature that you mentioned.
Yeah, exactly. So say we wanted to look for something like that has high danceability and is very cheerful or positive. That would actually only show one song, which is the 2016 song Tomorrow.
Tomorrow's Here Today. I remember that one. That one was sung by local band 53A. Now, for those of you who can't remember the song, don't worry, we will play the song later. Thank you, Rebecca, for taking us through the graphic. Now, of course, to check out the graphics, you can head over to our website. We also have the link just below as well. There we go, right there. Check it out. Just toggle through, listen through to all the different NDP songs, and make sure that you take part in our contest as well. Who knows, you might just be our lucky winner as well, who will walk away with NDP tickets. Once again, thank you, Rebecca. Now, earlier on, of course, we spoke to Sri Noi to just give an update of the Hong Kong protests and the situation in Hong Kong. And then we had our senior aviation correspondent, Karam, to share more about the panel that is set to propose some recommended regulations and tougher penalties on those who fly without following the rules. And earlier, and the latest one, of course, we had Rebecca to share more on ST's interactive graphic for the NDP songs. Now, so those were our top stories of the day. For more news and videos, do log on to our website at www.straitstimes.com. Once again, I'm Haryanto. Join us for more stories on The Big Story.